Hi, everyone. Welcome to Eyes Closed with Fucked Up. I'm here with Jonah.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you for taking the time. I'm feeling a bit like stressed because I know you guys are playing real soon, but we'll
That's all good. No problem.
just run through this, race through these questions.
I'll do my best to keep it short, except for telling you that I'm going to keep it short, which is already taking up more time than I would if I'd cut off the answer.
Yeah, can we just cut it right here?
Thanks. Good night.
It's a bit too much. Great interview. Thank you. Okay, so I have to say, like, preparing this interview, I was actually a bit intimidated because, like, I've always thought of Fucked Up as this just like crazy punk band, and like, and also like talking about your band with friends. They're like, oh yeah, it's that band that just goes completely nuts. But then I guess what I'm saying is I never paid too much attention to the actual like craft and like the artistry behind your band. And so I was reading and I was like, damn, this is fucking intellectual stuff. So like anyone who hasn't, maybe, I mean, you've been around for a long time, but anyone who hasn't listened to you guys, what is kind of like the best approach to Fucked Up? Like, is it watching you guys live or like watching the videos? Or
That's a good question. For those of you that have never heard Fucked Up before, there's a massive back catalog through which it's very hard to find a starting point. I would say just pick the easiest thing to you and then come and see us play live. And if you can't see us play live, pick the thing that's just before the easiest thing that's come to you. There are a few things in our catalog, like obviously it's very varied. We did start as a band that was completely chaotic and sort of explosive and confrontational. And soon after that sort of energy gets exhausted quite quickly. And so you kind of turn to the craft of songwriting or music making, or the idea that you can say something with what you've made rather than just sort of acting out the aggression.
Yeah.
Kind of keep pulling it back, almost like kneading bread dough or something like that, where the more that you push it, the more complex and the more connective it can be. So I would say pick a few spots to jump in and try and see us live. The thing about the live show is that it kind of executes, I should say, it sort of eliminates all the need to cut through the intellectual aspects of the band, not because it's not there and not because the craft of songwriting or the craft of musicianship isn't there, but more because you can understand that it's ultimately just a band. And if you want to take more than a band, you find the records, you read the lyrics, you look at the cover, you find the details. And if you just want to go and understand the energy of what this group has sort of put together over the years, and really the way we play now live, even though it's energetic and can be chaotic, it's not the same way as it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's this essentialized version of everything that we've done. So.
I mean, that's a great answer. I don't even know what to ask.
I don't know. I mean, I guess your question is, should you see the band live? And the answer is, you know damn right.
Awesome. Well, you released Dose Your Dreams.
We did.
Which I think, I mean, it's another milestone, I would say. How do you see the future of the band now after the release of Dose Your Dreams as opposed to Glass Boys? Like, I remember reading about like Damien saying that like he was ready to basically call it quits.
Well, interestingly enough, almost every full-length effort that we've put together has come with this kind of sense of finality, as though we've capped what we are able to do, or that we've finished something that we've set out to accomplish. And as soon as we're done, that feeling does occur, but it lasts no longer than a few weeks or something like that, until you understand that actually there's still something else to be done. And part of that feeling comes from the fact that somewhere along the journey of being in this band, we've been able to establish a kind of confidence which allows us to do sort of whatever we want. It sounds arrogant, but it's not supposed to be arrogant. I just think it's sort of quite a freeing feeling, where we know that whatever we do, the people that are already interested in the band are generally willing to come along with us. And whatever we do, the people that are sort of reviewing the band have come to have a kind of expectation of us subverting what we've already done. So releasing Dose Your Dreams, it did feel like an accomplishment. We hadn't done a record in years and years. And and Glass Boys was supposed to be this kind of like finale piece of maturation and stuff like that. So Dose Your Dreams, even though it felt like we accomplished something, feels like it opened a door more than anything else.
Just Kick that door right in.
Kick it right out. I don't know how the rest of the band's going to feel if they ever watch this interview. They might think like, you need to tell people that it's done, or you need to tell people that we're going to go forever. But to me, it really felt like we opened a door, because we took a chance on a lot of things in Those Who Dreams. Lyrically, musically, artistically, things like, or visually. So the fact that we've landed not in some kind of twisted mass of burnt decay, I feel like it's a sign, you know?
Absolutely. I'd have to agree with that. Do you think that there's a song off of the record that's sort of like the, how can I say, like the secret star? Like one that's sort of like needs a bit of like extra love or something?
I have a secret star on this record.
Which
My secret star is Came Down Wrong, the one that it features Jennifer Castle and Jay Mascis. And the reason it's the secret star is because it doesn't feature anybody that, well, I mean, Jennifer has sang on our songs before, but there's no member of Fucked Up that's taking the lead, really. And this is the secret star. You know, it shouldn't be the success story of Fucked Up that you think it is. And obviously, with names like that and voices like that, it's easy to kind of just consider it a pop song. But I think it's one of our most well-crafted songs, and I love it. And I know a few people who are more critical of music, and even our music, especially our music, than others, have written to me and said, you know what? I love that song, and I can't stop listening to it. So I feel like it's a sign, and I've always liked it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like I need to revise.
Get in there.
Revisit.
It's in the sort of like most emotional section of the record too. So you know.
I mean,
get the tissues, get a pillow. I mean, or get turn to the bottle, start running, whatever you want.
Just get in crisis mode, and that's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
So as we already talked about, you're sort of notorious for fucking losing it on stage.
Sure.
Can you describe to me the 10 or 5 minutes before hitting the stage?
You're pretty much looking at it.
Really?
Anything in this room, 5 minutes before stage is sort of like nervously changing clothes, awkwardly talking about when we should go on, discussing some minute detail of how we're going to leave in the morning. There isn't any fun ritual or like jumping jacks or carnage or anything like that. We've never really been that kind of band. I think that the sort of low-level frequency of sort of background anxiety is enough to get us up on stage. The 1 second before stage that we're walking on is usually when the most exciting thing will happen, like somebody forgets that they left something important in the van, or they got to change their shoes, or you know, something gets unplugged. You know, the other night the first thing on stage, I hit our sampler to try and start the set, and something had disconnected, and so I was playing along in my monitors to something that I thought was sounding amazing, and everybody's looking at me. So it's never in here really, in the 5 minutes before the show.
So it like the nervousness surprises you also sometimes on stage.
The nerves are more when you're out there. The nerves in here is just like you're this banal, cramped, shared space with the slices of cheese and the bags of tea and the bucket of ice. Sounds
like a good time.
It's not a nervous place.
Fair enough. So, and when we did talk about this before camera, you live in London now.
I do.
Does living here make you feel more or less like a Canadian?
I think that the instinct of people who shift cities and especially shift countries is to instantly acclimatize and assimilate, and especially in a culture that's sort of, or I should say in a city and a culture as magnetic as London and as England, it's really easy for North Americans to want to, especially Canadians coming from a much smaller population and a sort of smaller cultural influence around the world. You want to assimilate right away and start talking with an accent and swagger and doing glottal stops and things like that. And I think I've seen a lot of people who've moved from Toronto and Canada do that and sort of embarrassingly contradict themselves and who they are for the sake of, you know, becoming part of the furniture. And I'm guilty of that too, but I didn't feel less Canadian, but I did sort of want to be hyper aware of where I'd come from so that I didn't become a total farce. I was 50% farce, to be clear, out there. Anybody who's watching, you're looking at a demi-farce. But it didn't make me feel any less from somewhere. But it did give me this challenge to sort of live up then to a place that was 5 times as big as the city that I'm from. And also, you know, sometimes you just have to do a lot better to make it work here. And I'm not sure that I'm doing well enough to make it work here in terms of my attack and my approach. But you know exactly what it's like because you've come from Hamburg. And so it takes a bit extra to live in London, I think. And but I like imagining that I have the energy and that I've got the drive and I can walk for hours on end. And to be bored of London is to be bored of life. So, and they don't really say that about Timmins, Ontario. No disrespect.
But you got Tim Hortons.
We got Timmy's in England too, in Folkestone.
What?
This one.
Is
Yeah,
that
that's
true?
right. That's true.
Man. See, you're probably like more of a Londoner than me.
Well,
like me having lived here for like 4 and a bit years.
If you've lived, when you live here and you're
Shameful.
trying to become sort of administratively part of the country, you have to do something that's called the Life in the UK test. And these are things that I swear up and down, nobody who's born and raised in this country would have any reason to know, let alone be able to recall with any kind of efficiency. So like, how many jurors are there on a Scottish land rights trial? By the way, there's 11 or whatever, like, how would you know?
That's ridiculous.
So I wouldn't
That's
know the same
worse
things
than,
about
like, the U.S.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
So does that make one feel more part of the culture? You're damn right. I don't know.
Totally. I mean, these are just the bare essentials.
I was impressed with myself that I could find the cardinal directions in London after a couple months without getting completely lost.
What are the cardinal directions?
Well, north, south, east, west. Because I come from a place that's on a grid where north is not only always easily followed, it's like this way, but it's also uphill most of the time. Whereas London, up, down, wavy roads, Roman roads, they're not always, or medieval roads, they're not always the most indicative of where you're going. But I figured it out.
But and you know the whole like, don't be south of the river.
That is something I completely disagree with. I love south of the river.
I'm so biased. It's just because I haven't lived south of the river.
Get down there. South is lovely.
Maybe at some point, but probably not anytime soon. I'm not gonna lie. It's I'm just prejudiced. That's all. I'm just being ignorant.
Get me on your blog again. I'll give you the South London.
Please do.
South London conversion tour.
We'll do like a walking tour or something.
Fantastic.
Next time.
Fantastic.
Oh my God, cool. Last question: who's the Marie Kondo fan? Someone's posting on Instagram about like tidying up with Marie.
Well, there are 2 people in the band that have access to the band Instagram. I am not one of them.
Okay.
I do kind of enjoy the idea that things can spark joy in your life and blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
My life is full of extraneous dog shit, so I can't say that I've listened to that kind of advice. But I suspect it's more about the zeitgeist of somebody in pop culture than anybody's minimalism. You never know. There's some neat and tidy people in this group.
Are there? Okay.
That's for you to find out, viewers, fans, and enthusiasts.
That is a cliffhanger until the next time.
We're going to go out there very soon, make a racket, hopefully turn some damn heads. But until then, we thank you kindly.
Thank you, Jonah. This has been fun.
You're very welcome.
And everyone, check these guys out in whatever way you want.
You're the best. Coming to you live from Highbury Corner. It's fucked up.
Thank you. This has been amazing. Thanks, Jonah.
My pleasure.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.